Hello and welcome to the Rugby World Cup Sevens format for 2017. Hi, I'm Paul, the guy behind DrivingMaul, and thank you very much for joining me today. Now, I'll be honest, it wasn't until someone asked me last week for my opinions on the Rugby World Cup Sevens format that there was anything wrong. I thought that they would follow the format that they follow for the HSBC World Sevens series, as that was the format they had in 2013, which was basically you seed the teams, you split them into a bunch of pools, they play each other once, and then from there you qualify for the cup plate or what's the other competition called now? Cup plate or just a quick scan down. Anyway, the different cup plate or bowl. That's it for the different competitions. And I thought that's exactly what we would have again. I saw no reason why you would change it. There are still 24 men's teams and 16 ladies teams, so it's the same number of teams in the competition. Why would you need to mess around with the format? The same, but World Rugby at the moment seems to be in the mind of making things complicated. We have seen that with the Rugby World Cup 2019 qualification process that went from a relatively simple way of understanding how teams qualified for the Rugby World Cup to a much more convoluted one where different teams had different amounts of chances to qualify. So, for example, the Pacific Island teams can qualify and 3 opportunities to qualify for the Rugby World Cup, whereas other teams have to get through a couple of competitions before they even have the opportunity to qualify for the Rugby World Cup. So there does seem to be a bit of favouritism going on. And I don't disparage the Pacific Islands for having a leg up, don't get me wrong, but I do think it should be a fair, we should be looking at, just because we shouldn't be sort of putting things too much in one team's or other countries' favour. So, what is the format for the Rugby World Cup Sevens? Well, it's changed, and there are no pools this time. So for the women, basically the 16 teams get seeded, and it's a straight knockout competition where basically seed 1 gets to play seed 16, seed 2 against seed 15, etc., all the way down. And you play a game. If you win that game, you get to continue to the next round. If you lose that game, depending on which game it is, you get knocked out of the cup and into the challenge trophy instead. So there are, and then you also, and they basically rank. Everyone gets to play 4 games, so you get a ranking of 1 to 16. At the end of it. Now, with sevens being the kind of a game where we do see upsets, we do see surprises, there is the chance here that we'll see some big names getting knocked out at some stage and not having the best 2, or what is considered the best 2 teams in the final. But at least you can see everyone is treated the same, in that it's a knockout competition and you earn how easy or hard your run is according to your seeding and how well you've done previously. The men's, well, it's not quite the same. So in the men's, what they've gone and done is they've decided that the seeds 9 to 24 will all be seeded and play off against each other first. And if you're seeded 1 to 8, then you get basically a bye in this round and get straight into the round of 16. So you have to play 1 less game than all the other teams. So that's how. So for start off, it's not all the teams will play the same number of games, and it's not an even playing field for all of the teams. The 1 to 8 will then play off against the teams who've gone into the qualifying round, I think they're calling it, or round 1. And it's a straight knockout competition again, with teams, if they lose, getting put into the challenge trophy, or the bowl. So they call it a challenge trophy rather than a plate, which is what you hear on the HSBC Sevens Tour. And again, with Sevens being a less predictable sport than 15s, there is definitely the chance that we're going to have some upsets and some teams getting knocked out early. Now, is that a good thing or a bad thing? I'm in two minds here about that. It's definitely going to cause headlines if, say, Fiji unexpectedly get knocked out in the quarterfinals, so there is that side of things. But it does also reduce the exposure of the lower teams against the top teams, because if you have pools, you're guaranteeing everyone gets to play, everyone in that pool at least once, and the bottom teams will get to play a couple of the top teams at some point. Whereas in this situation, if they lose out in round one, they'll never get to face one of the top teams at all during the tournament. So I think that's a shame for those players, for those players in those teams. But it does mean that those teams have got a better chance of making it deeper into the tournament, because, as I say, they can potentially win a one-off game. The chances of them doing it twice or three times during a pool stages is pretty slim, really, in the grand scheme of things, as we've seen with the sort of HSBC World Tour stops. So I'm in two minds about this. One, I don't like the fact that World Rugby seems to want to tinker and give some teams an advantage over others. I don't like that side of things, but I can see that's and I don't see why you're choosing a different format than is used at the Olympics, at the HSBC World Series events, and has been shown to be successful. Why mess with a good formula, especially for a Rugby World Cup, which is supposed to be sevens, which is supposed to be kind of one of the showpiece events that's being held, and it's being held in San Francisco in the States, and helping as sort of part of the growth of the game in the Americas. So I think they should have stuck with the other format, but I'm not totally anti this one. I can see that it could cause good headlines, but is that really what the sport is all about? It should be all about trying to get the best two teams in the final and having a good game. So I would have preferred the other format, I think. Let me know your thoughts down below. I'm always up for a rugby chat, so do get in touch. Also, please sign up for my newsletter. Link above on Twitter, link down below on YouTube. It comes out once a week on a Thursday, so you don't miss any of my stuff, which is these videos, there's blog posts, and also now a podcast as well, which you can find if you search for #RugbyChat on iTunes. Thank you very much for joining me, and I will be back again tomorrow with another video for you.